this topic.
There's one comment in the box which questioned, would Jesus have felt lonely when he said, "My Lord, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Well, I think it was not by mistake that Jesus picked that passage to quote, right? That is a messianic psalm, of course, where David's words have been taken to be a messianic prophecy. But Jesus picked that particular psalm, which is talking about a person who's saying, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Right? The feeling of abandonment, the feeling of being alone. So, yeah, I presume that Jesus meant it when he quoted that. He did feel abandoned by God because he was bearing the sin of the world. And in that sense, that's our understanding of scripture, that God the Father and God the Son had that um, separation for some time because of Jesus bearing the sins of the world. Yeah, so he understands loneliness. That's an interesting insight, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. Any other question? Any other? Yeah. There was a question even early on the chat saying Paltiel, the husband of Michael, second
Yeah.
husband, should have left Michael, shouldn't have married Michael in the first place. So why marry a divorcee in the first place and then later cry? So basically, it's a perception to say that you are suffering now because of your own mistake. Is that the way we look at people when they
Yeah, well, technically, Michal did nothing wrong, right? She was an innocent divorcee there.
yeah, yeah,
What did Michal do? She loved David. She didn't do anything wrong. So, if when David has left her and gone, and he has not got her
yeah.
back, and yeah,
No,
so it was an uncertain situation, and it so happened that this happened.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh, I don't think it would be right to blame him because
No,
there was no condemnation against marrying a divorced woman at that point in scripture. So there was no people. There was remarriage all the time. So I don't think that there would be a problem with that. But in any case, we need to respond to the loneliness and the love that he was showing rather
yeah,
than worrying too much about the legal aspect of it. The fact is that he loved her. The fact is that he felt lonely. Okay, so we can respond to that part. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, yeah, perhaps we have to remember that we are a people of God, grace, so we should not go into this karma thing and say that people are now suffering because of their actions. We should extend the same grace and forgiveness that we receive from God
Yes,
and
somebody
carefully.
has said we have to read her case story from the Bible to fully understand her, Mikal. Yes, of course, that is completely true. We have to read the story carefully to understand.
Yeah, any other question, response? If you've done something meaningful, also you could share
But
quickly.
again, I'm just pointing out here that see, even if it is her fault, no, uh, of course, Mikal did wrong in despising David, particularly when he was dancing before the Lord. There was no reason to despise him for that. But for whatever reason, her relationship with David has got soured. Okay, and then she makes these kind of harsh comments to him, and then he makes equally harsh comments back. And the fact is that Mikhail is left lonely, no? So, as Christians, if you have another example like this, maybe a woman who has had a bitter spat with her husband, she said something wrong, he said something wrong, whatever it is, they are exchanged. Now, do we respond to that loneliness and reach out to her, or do we sort of feel that, okay, she deserved it? That would be the issue. Whether or not she deserved it, God reaches out, no, to all of us. He never says you deserved it, therefore I'm not reaching out to you. So our job is not to figure out who is to blame. Our job is to just offer friendship and comfort and love, I think.
What are the words of comfort we can speak to a bereaved person?
Yes. Okay, Angeline, thank you for that. Yeah, I think a bereaved person, the best thing that you can do rather than words of comfort would just be to be there with them. Maybe if it's appropriate, to give them a hug, to just sit with them, maybe cry with them. Okay. We don't really need to give words of comfort. The presence of us and our love for them is comfort. Okay. So I think words that God took him away or God knows best, all those things sometimes can jar. They can sometimes not come across very nicely to the person who is grieving. So it's better not to say those words of comfort. Maybe the best thing that you can just say that I love you, I'm so sorry. No, just
Yes.
say that. That's probably the most comforting thing that you can say, that I'm so sorry for you. I will be praying for you, or I love you. What can I do to help? Something like that.
Just the mere physical presence is very
Yes,
comforting.
yes.
And so, Christmas is about family affair. Isn't this a Western culture? First Christmas was about rich and poor, the high and the low of society in the inn. So,
Okay. Yes, that is true. The first Christmas had the rich and poor, the high and low of society in the inn. Uh, well, Christmas being about family, is it a Western culture? Uh, That's an interesting question. But see, the thing is that any festival, I agree that Christmas being celebrated the way it is as a family thing is very, but Western culture really sort of really emphasizes that. I agree. But at the same time, any festival, you look at India, okay? Any festival, whether it's Diwali or Dasara or Holi or whatever it is, it's always celebrated in families, no? So, as even in our Eastern culture, festivals are celebrated in families. So, Christmas in the Eastern church, earlier it used to be Easter, which was celebrated widely. It is in my church in Kerala, where I come from. It used to be Easter, which was a big festival. But over the years, it has moved and Christmas has taken center stage, right? Um, It doesn't have to be only about family, but often it ends up with being, you always have a family meal, no? And people tend to get together for festivals. So that is, I think it's also an Indian thing. So it's not only a Western thing. Okay. So that's the best answer I can give. Okay. There's some questions there which I can't see, Abhijit. Can you read it?
okay, yeah, one second. Yeah, David, when his men decided to stone him in Psalm on thoughts troubling, and Psalm is asking how long I must suffer. So, I mean, these are just comments basically. Job, when his wife asked him to curse God and God was nowhere, Elijah running away as only one, Jeremiah finally went with
Hmm.
refuge. He doesn't life of loneliness. Habakkuk response to loneliness was best. I will rejoice when the fig doesn't blossom and no sheep in stalls. Okay, sufferings
Okay.
makes us empathetic, and I feel that sufferings like loneliness actually is a blessing in disguise, because it is then that we can completely depend and trust upon our Lord Jesus Christ. Psalm 118:8. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man.
Yes, God speaks to us through our sufferings. God can reach us through suffering where when we are happy and blessed, we don't pay much attention. So, yes, sufferings can be a time when we turn to God. Hopefully, we will learn from sufferings to turn to God even in our times of happiness so that He does not have to use sufferings to get through to us.
All right. Okay, any other question, any other comment? Okay, it's difficult to talk through to those who lost their loved ones to death, to sort of convince them to celebrate Christmas, because it is all about God. They don't want to dress up, put up Christmas decoration, etc. As they say, these show that they are not grieving. We too lost our mother 5 months back, so quite a journey. Thank you for sharing that experience here.
Thank you for sharing that. My comment would be that I don't think we should force people to celebrate if they don't feel like. Okay, so even if it's about God, we- celebration does not have to be external. It is not necessary. I mean, many of us don't. Well, frankly, after the children grew up and left home, I hardly decorate my house. Okay, it's not that I'm not celebrating. I love Christmas time because I love the songs. I love the whole beauty of the story which comes across in music and theatre, drama and all that. I love all that. I don't really bother to decorate my house after the children grew up because it was always for them, the decorations and all that. So I think you can just leave it to people to decide how much they want to do of the externals. But as you said, the internal thing is what is important, and
Yeah.
that you can sort of focus on.
But I think related to this, there is also a society expectation that sometimes people come under that, oh, we are supposed to be grieving, or people think, oh, they are supposed to be grieving, so let's not invite them, let's not get them in. Sometimes the family may not be grieving as we think they are grieving. They might just be looking for some relief and out of, because I think it happens in the case when somebody is very old and they bedridden or a patient for a long time, and after that person has passed away, we think they might be grieving, but actually there's a sense of relief that they experience. Any comment on that, the expectation of?
Yes, often there is a sense of relief because you have been grieving for so long when they are sick. No, that's also grief for grief. So the final separation, the final passing over is just the end stage of a long period of grief. So many of them might not have a prolonged period of grief after that. So yes, you should leave it to them to decide when they are ceasing their grieving and what they want to do. So you can always ask them, do you want to come for dinner? Can I call you for dinner? If it is appropriate for you to come, please come. If you're not comfortable with coming, that's also okay. So put it like that, maybe that would be fine.
Right, right. Yeah. Any other question, any other comment, please go ahead. You could also share an experience if you, as a church or individual, as a family, have done something meaningful for some specific person. You could share it, but quickly, yeah, in a
I
nutshell.
call my neighbors, they are elderly, but they're so happy when they visit my home for Christmas and they have my sweets. We have a small gospel sharing also. So, partly how much they listen and whether something goes into their head, I'm not bothered. I'm just happy that they came and they shared with the joy with us. And in God's time, He will work in their hearts. So
Yes,
that thought really comforted me this year.
yes, that's very nice. Thank you, Priyanka. Yes, that is lovely. And Pastor Kirkwood said the same thing. We don't have to judge others how to celebrate or how to grieve. We will actually celebrate Christmas with people of other faith. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Well, this is a very interesting example. It happened once I was trying to return to my native place from Chandigarh. I tried 5 times reservation. I cancelled all 5 times. Finally, I went unreserved. In that, one couple came in. This person is a dentist. He was not speaking to his wife at all. He was not speaking to his wife. His wife was feeding him with badam and so many things, but he didn't speak and he couldn't walk only. So then, when he asked, it seems he told that he had lost some money, and when he inquired, his wife had told she had not taken the money, and only two of us were there. uh, I told him, see, devil is the father of lies, and he is a murderer from the beginning. See, your wife is doing so much for you. People are struggling for groundnuts. You are having badam and kaju. Your wife, why should be taking care of you? And there is a possibility a third person could have been there. Then he remembered that a servant girl was there. This person was a dentist in some place. The moment he came out of that and he realized his wife is so close and loving and sharing, in the train, he ate all of badam, which he had not eaten for so many years. When he was getting down, his wife wanted to touch my feet. She was older than me. She had tears in her eyes and she was so thankful. He stood up and walked with her.
Hmm. Okay,
Not,
that's an interesting story. Thank you for sharing, Durera. Yeah. Yes,
and
it's also true that sometimes elderly people can be unnecessarily distrustful, because they lose their ability to control things, no, because you become dependent. So sometimes a little bit of suspicion becomes part of the servant girl also may not have taken it. He may have misplaced the money. That's far more likely. But yeah. Okay, there's
Yes,
a question from Rita here. This question may not be related to this session. Please help me on this. Believers who lost loved ones celebrate death anniversary every year with prayer service and food, etc. Is it wrong or right to be a part of it? I think it's fine. I mean, every custom, every community has its own custom. So many people celebrate the
Yeah,
anniversary of deaths with a sort of memorial. The memorial includes a food and a prayer service. So I find nothing wrong with being a part of it. Okay, obviously you must help them to share. I mean, to process their grief. This is the practice of their community, so that's fine. It's not a problem.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think there's a question here with the direct chat. When someone's heart is deeply hurt, it can sometimes lead to bitterness. While we want to console them, but spending too much time in that situation or that dynamic can sometimes affect our own emotional state. It's important to support them while also protecting our own well-being. So, what can we do if we are in this kind of situation? Any comment?
Yes, that is relevant. You should see your own emotional response as being a reflection of the emotion that that person is experiencing. Okay, that's usually what happens. If you're an empathetic person, you will be responding to that person's emotion. So if they are sad, you may feel sad. If they are angry, you may feel some kind of, agitation yourself. So you must understand that this is not your emotion. It is just the reflection of the other person's sadness. Once you realize that, you're keeping a sort of distance. You're getting away from your emotion and examining it. So that itself helps you to be objective about it. You know that this is not my sadness. I'm only feeling sad because that other person is sad. Okay, so that is how you protect yourself. Do you get it? You have to examine your emotion, standing away and looking at it. You have to ask yourself, what am I feeling and why am I feeling this? I didn't lose anyone. Why am I crying? No, why am I feeling sad? I didn't actually lose anyone. No, I'm feeling sad because that person is feeling sad. Now, how do I help that person? I help that person by listening to them. I don't have to try and pull them out of it. That's not going to happen. They have to come out in their own time and pace. But then you can listen to them and you can just be there with them, tell them you understand. That's how you protect yourself.
Uh,
Okay.
Dr. Jamila, just related to this, sometimes you feel like helping somebody, but you later discover that you cannot handle it.
Yeah.
No, I mean you want to help somebody, or you
Mhm.
probably try to invite someone into your
Okay.
home,
Uh,
but then later discover that you cannot handle it. In the
because it's
sense
too emotional issues.
are too emotional, or they start coming too often into your home and all that. So,
Okay.
what is the kind of, do we need to be, how do you measure your emotions versus your ability to actually help? And should there be
Yeah.
a team or network? So, any
Yeah,
comment on
there
that?
should be. There should be. And particularly if you feel overwhelmed and if you feel that you can't help, I think it's often an indication that that other person might need professional help. So if they are very emotional, then why are they meeting a counselor, meeting a psychiatrist? They should know. So we are not able to fix every problem. It's like if somebody has a heart problem, when they come into your house, you can reduce the salt in the food. But you can't be a cardiologist and decide what medicine to give them, no? You can't do that. If a diabetic comes into the house, obviously you will not offer them gulab jamuns, right? At least I hope you won't. Okay, we should not offer them gulab jamuns. But then we can't tell them that you do this. This is how you treat your diabetes. And all. That is not your job. Your job is to just be a friend. And for dealing with their cardiac issues or their diabetic issues, they need to go to a doctor. Similarly, if a person is very emotional or very unable to handle their life, they need to go to a counselor. They need to go to a psychiatrist. So you need to tell them that look, I can't handle these problems.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So you
because
need to be clear about that.
yeah, because what happened, I'm just drawing from some of the experience I've seen, where a
Yeah,
family
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah.
somebody who was sick and into their home and all that, and later that family started coming too often, and this particular family then felt the burn of trying to accommodate them and help them out. So, then it kind of turned into a totally opposite reaction of avoiding them. So it's just something that we need to be careful what we are getting
Yes.
involved in, and probably
Yes,
partner.
yes, of course we should be aware of this, that some people can be very demanding and all that, and it's not helpful to give in to all demands or to substitute. They should not substitute your house for theirs, right? They should not feel that I don't have to work, I can simply come and have meals at your house. That is not possible. You also have to learn to work, so you need to encourage them to be independent, to find their own feet. You have to do that as well. So yeah, you need to set limits and draw lines. Yeah. There's a question here again. Can you read that out, Abhijit?
When I was young, I spent time with elders. Now looks like they waste time. Is it worth it? As they have little life left, better invest on young people. It's more profitable as limited time is there with the elderly. It was okay. So that's one thing. Better to spend time with elderly, or better to spend it with young people. That's one
Uh,
part.
well,
That's all of.
I'm. How can well, you will have to make your decision. If you are so short of time that you have to decide between this one and that one, it's up to you how to decide. But it should not be based on the fact that spending time with elders is a waste of time. That's not, I don't think that would be correct, because nobody is a waste of time. No, probably that is not right. But yes, you have to choose. You have to prioritize who you are going to spend time with, depending on who you as a person can be more effective with. Maybe that's the best answer.
Okay, and then there's a comment with the previous discussion. If it was Paltiel's loneliness, not a blame. If I saw tomato, I get tomato. Still, we can comfort. Okay, all right.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, there's a direct question that has come. I mean, issue. Recently, a lady shared that she had some marital issues. She shared with the pastor of her church. He was very supportive, and in fact counseled her. A week later, the pastor's wife wanted to meet her and ask her to come for a cup of coffee. This lady was so happy and went with great expectations of comfort, but to her dismay, the pastor's wife asked her not to come to church, and this lady was devastated. That's a
That's a
probably a,
terrible thing.
yeah.
That's rather terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. This was not right. Yeah, maybe there are personal issues there. Okay, how can I help a friend who's grieving but lives far away? Phone calls are not always possible as she's caring for small babies and a grieving mother. Shall I repeat it?
I got it. I was just thinking how she could help if she can't phone.
Probably find a support group church
Maybe,
close by.
maybe put her in touch with somebody close by. If you can find somebody who's closer to her where you can live. Maybe send messages. Messages are always possible these days. And ask her when she is free so that you can call.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I
And
need a question.
sometimes maybe if you want to take a trip and go and visit her, then take care of the babies and give her a day out, because that would be good for her to have a break. You care for the kid and you allow her to have time to go shopping or something. That might actually help her. She may be happy to do that.
Okay, one more direct sharing that has come. I too was grieving for my dad. It developed into guilt slowly, and I was thinking about him even in the middle of my work. So I felt convicted that my priority should be to love God instead and serve Him as my dad did. I think grieving too much is being selfish, is it?
Uh, I'm not sure why you felt guilty. Okay. Did you feel guilty because you were not serving God the way your father did? If that is the case, then that was a good guilt. That
Probably
was
it
a
was
guilt.
about staying away or not able to do enough for your father in the time of sin.
No, from what he said later, which is that I should serve God the way my father did. From that, the hint is that he was feeling guilty because he was not serving God the way his father was. That's possible. If that is what it is, then it is good. If it is because you felt you did not take care of your father well enough or whatever it is, then it's too late to do anything about it now. So you ask God for forgiveness and determine that you will uh, pay attention to family members and take care of them in the future, whoever else is there in your life. Okay, so that you don't have to feel guilt again.
It looks like this person is thinking that grieving is too selfish, then it's not skipping that guilt part about even asking for forgiveness from God.
No, grieving by itself is not, it's selfish only if you carry it to an extent and you're thinking about yourself all the time. But
Right.
otherwise, grieving is about missing the other person. So to a certain extent, it is normal and natural. If you don't grieve, there's something uh, not wrong, but it is something that you are suppressing. So it is probably more healthy to think about it, process it, and allow yourself to understand what you're going through. Of course, don't carry it to an extent. Don't go on and on about it. Okay, that's
Correct, yeah. Um, right. I think there's a comment. Thank you for sharing the idea that asking lonely people gives them a sense of what I thought we have to do things like caring, etc. I never thought I could ask others. Okay. The best lifestyle is pray and with God's peace go on and help someone being led by Holy Spirit. Divine wisdom will protect us from all upcoming unseen issues. Okay,
yeah.
right. Okay, Dr. Jamila, there are some sometimes some practical difficulties that come in. For example, a couple with kids, they want to have plans for Christmas. They want to go here and there, or they want to go out station. But sometimes there are elderly people who are at home, who they are kind of wondering how to adjust them and and accommodate them, or sometimes it might create stress if it's a parent of the husband or if the wife is staying, or it could be the other way around. So in those times, there could be a tension between wanting to do something as a family or Christmas for themselves, but then the stress or the challenge of accommodating your elderly parents. So how can somebody balance those
Okay,
things?
right. I think if you probably spend enough time and give enough attention to the elderly people normally, then they will be more open to your occasionally taking some time out for just you and your spouse or the children. But if you make it a practice to only pay attention to your spouse and the children and not to the elderly, then they will feel neglected and that our children don't care for us and that sort of thing. That being said, there are some parents who might be very demanding, who might not want you to go out ever, who always want you to be with them and to take care of them. There may be some elderly parents who become like that. And if that is the case, you might have to juggle, with one spouse going with the children, not being able to go as a family for some time. These are the sacrifices you may have to make. So I would suggest that husband and wife talk about it together and decide together on these things. So don't get upset about it. Sometimes these are phases of our life which we have to go through it. We cannot predict how elderly people will be. Some of them are unreasonable. That's a fact. Perhaps we can bear it better if we remember that we will also become elderly at one time, and perhaps we also will become a little cranky and little demand. We do not know, no. So, to be a little kind, it's okay. All right, figure it out,
Right, right.
decide together. Okay, you may have to make a couple of sacrifices here and there, but hopefully, if you pay them a lot of attention normally, and you make some provision for their care. Maybe another relative takes care of them, or maybe they come for a day and then you go on for another 2 days, something like that. So if you make some compromise where you are showing them that you care for them, then they may be more conducive to that.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I think you could always call somebody who may be willing to substitute, and yeah, even a caretaker probably if that works
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Go ahead, brother Michael. Yeah.
Uh, I had asked, as a student, I asked one of my friends, I had invited him for a program. He didn't come. So after many days, once he came, he said, I came to you because you invited me. he had attempted suicide and he didn't die. So he came. He said he had this thought that if I'm alive, there is a purpose there. And the only reason he came was because he was long time ago invited once. That day, he really laughed and he said, "You don't know after how many days I have laughed." And he made some kind of commitment. He had gone through so many issues. He was a gay and so many things. Yeah. Um,
Okay, fine. I think we've
Okay,
come to
yeah,
the
thank you for sharing. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I think we've come to the close. Any question quickly before we close here? Right. Dr. Jamila, this might be not directly related, but sometimes what happens, I was just thinking that there is a whole stress of Christmas celebration that comes in, or people go from one thing to the other, like into the motion of Christmas. We have to visit this family, there's a wedding, and there's a gift, and then the time that you could spend in that break when loved ones come together and actually nourish each other or encourage one another, spending what that gets lost. And so people can go through the motions of Christmas without actually being in a place where they replenish or refresh one another. So, how can we make this Christmas meaningful even for family and people around us? Because then there could be some kind of, you get lost in the
Okay.
transitions.
My suggestion would be to simplify our celebrations, stick to what is important. Each person has to decide what is important. If we find it very important to go on making cake or making sweets or decorating the house, if these things are stressing us out a lot, or maybe as you said, whatever, going to all the services or whatever. If we focus on, we have to make our priorities as to what is important for us. If we are
Correct.
making, if you're trying to do too many things, then
Yeah.
obviously we may be stressed out and we may not actually have time to spend with people meaningfully. So it's up to each of us to make that balance. Okay. I know I told you how I do my balance. I don't I don't actually bother decorating my house very much. I make a few cakes, but that's about it. I make something which is very easy for me to make, which I can do even with half my mind on it, so that I can spend time with people talking while I'm doing it. I don't experiment much with. So you make your own compromises so that you can do whatever is
Correct.
adequate.
Because sometimes we can be unknowingly just trying to match what other people are doing,
Yes,
and
that's a big danger. That is a
that's
big danger. Yeah. We shouldn't be doing it just because others are doing it.
right,
Yeah.
right. So we need to cut down on some of these
Yeah.
unnecessary commitments and things. Yeah,
Yeah.
be at home.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. I think, can we close now? Is anybody still? Yeah. All right. So I think we can close with that. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamila. We come up with all kinds of topic, but you really do a great
Yes, you
job.
come up with all kinds of topics. Yes.
Whatever ball we throw at you, you hit it outside the stadium. I can say that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
you're welcome.
Wonderful,
Thank you,
everyone.